Hello everyone, welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. I am Jeremy, and this is going to be another video in the Life by the Square Inch series here on the channel. This one is going to be crafting project number 4, I believe, and this is going to be a Dwarven Anvil. Now, I play in a weekly game on Jacob Norman's Twitch channel, Mini Terrain Domain. The title of the campaign that we play in is called the Dawnbringers. And another player in that game is Ted Adams. He's with the Nerdarchy YouTube channel, and he asked me to make something for him, something that would go into his collection, and I thought about it for a while, and I couldn't determine what it was that I wanted to make for him. I wanted it to be something kind of special, something that had meaning. And I finally settled on something because both of us play Dwarven cousins. And he, in particular, plays a priest of Moradin, who's kind of the Dwarven god of the Forge and their creator god. So I decided that I was going to make him an anvil. Now, this anvil is made out of XPS foam, the pink home insulation foam that you see on a lot of crafting videos and things like that. It has dowel rods and things that run through it for structural support. And then the rest is Mod Podge and paint. You can see these logos here on the two sides that are inset. Those were 3D printed, not by myself, but by a good friend of mine named Nathan. He is with the YouTube channel, the Quinian's Budget Crafts. I highly recommend that you go check that out. And yeah, I want to go ahead and show you guys how I made this, the steps that I went through, and we'll see how it was done. So let's get to it. You can see here where I've already started shaping the foam. It's just kind of cut out of XPS foam, expanded polystyrene. And you can see on the left there's a little bit of a blue color, and then the rest is just this pink. I just kind of started messing around with my Proxxon, cutting at different angles, trying to keep it very Dwarven looking. You can see off to the right where I had started making the horn shape that will eventually go on the front, and then you can also see these recesses that have kind of been carved out to make room for the 3D printed elements that'll go in there later. You can get a little bit better of an idea how everything's going to go together here. You can kind of see the main body of the anvil all put together with its anvil, with its angles and stuff already done, and kind of ready to be assembled. The horn, I've never really shaped anything out of foam before, as far as carving down or sanding, and I finally tackled it with this little hand sander that I have. I took it outside and sanded it down with 3 different grits of sandpaper. You can see here I'm wearing my respirator because you don't want to breathe the dust that comes off of that foam. Safety first. But here you can see where I'm making marks on the horn and the body of the anvil where this is going to attach. There are dowel rods that are through several of the different layers of the body of the anvil, kind of helping to secure it together with more than just the hot glue. Give it a little bit of rigidity, a little bit of a structure underneath, an armature. And with this horn, because it was going to be protruding out and it was going to be fairly thin on the end, I knew I wanted it to be very reinforced on the inside. So you can see at the bottom of this image where this kind of thick dowel, I sharpened down both ends of it, and then I had to drill out the hole in the horn, and then I marked a little bit of paint on the outside and then pressed it up against the body of the anvil in position, so that way I could make sure that the holes would line up perfectly straight. And then I also ended up putting in, I think, extra toothpicks or barbecue skewers, one of the two, around that hole to give it a little bit of extra strength. Here it is, the entire thing assembled and ready to go. I don't think I got a picture of the next step, which was to actually go in where all of these layers are separated with modeling paste. And I put in a layer of modeling paste and kind of smoothed it down with my hand, and then I went back in over the entirety of the whole thing and rolled it with aluminum foil to kind of have it give this kind of cast iron kind of look to it, this kind of uneven metallic texture. And here you can see what it looks like with the 3D printed elements in place. I had just put them in there temporarily just to kind of make sure that they fit and to see how it looked together. And then I coated the entire thing without the 3D printed elements in it with Mod Podge and black paint. Just mixed it together so that way it kind of gave a prime coat as well as a little bit of protection. I ended up putting a total of 2 coats of the Mod Podge and black paint mixture, and then I put on a 3rd coat of just Mod Podge matte over the entire thing. In retrospect, I would have done a 3rd coat with the black paint and the Mod Podge mixed together, because the Mod Podge alone is just a little too thick, so it did leave a little bit of the brush strokes behind in that 3rd and final coat. Here you can see on the top a little bit better of an idea of the texturing that I did. I used a small ball peen hammer that I have to basically look like it had been beaten over, centuries of use. Kind of helped distress the top and make it look like it had been beaten metal. Here you can see me finally gluing the 3D elements into place before the real painting actually begins. This shot here is showing the Dwarven runes that I carved along the base all the way around the outside. It is a message that I wanted to write, a personal message that I wanted to write for Ted. And I have a Dwarven script that I use for a lot of my games, and I just used that to inscribe these messages. I wrote them in with pen, then went back with an X-Acto knife to cut them in deeper, and then went back with the pen and to widen them out before I started coating it all and painting it all. And here you can see I was sponge painting on I think it was burnt umber, kind of a dark brown color, all over the entire thing, making sure to get into the recesses and things. Now this is just a normal kitchen sponge, and it won't get into the recesses. So I have an old paintbrush where the bristles are kind of flared out, and I use that to get into the deeper parts and the recesses that the sponge won't really reach. And then I went back over the entire thing with the sponge, sponging on the brown. What the sponge does is it kind of gives this variegated texture to the paint. So there's some parts that are thicker, there's some parts that are thinner, and you can see here where the black undercoat is kind of shining through. And then I did the same thing with the sponge and the bristle, the destroyed brush, with 2 different colors of orange. Once again, just making sure that I had coverage over the entire thing. It makes it look really strange. It's a scary step because it it looks very out of place. But then you go back in and sponge over lighter and or dry brush over with like a gunmetal, like a dark silver color, and it starts to bring some of that shine back and makes it look a lot more metallic, and it leaves that kind of rust color down inside the recesses. Successive layers of paint, I started mixing black into the gunmetal to make it even darker, to make it more of that kind of cast iron black, but just with a little bit of sparkle to it. And I went back in and did a few different coats of that until I was satisfied with how it looked. And then I came back at the end and kind of edged the lighter color of silver, the gunmetal, back over some of the edges and the top of the metal where it would have been, the top of the anvil where it would have been beaten the most often, and that outer kind of shell of cast iron would have been worn down and chipped away. And then eventually onto a highlight color of sterling silver, especially kind of on the end and the very top of the horn, and especially kind of the front edge of the body of the anvil and across the middle part of the surface of the anvil itself. So that way, again, it kind of looks lighter and lighter the closer you get to the areas that had been utilized more and more. And there you have it. You can see the 3D printed elements here that were inset on the sides. You can see here the horn that was shaped. Hopefully it's supported strongly enough. I plan on packing this with a lot of bubble wrap and things like that, so hopefully it can make it all the way to Ted safely and without any kind of damage done to it. You can see here on the top some of the detail and the painting and things of that nature. This is something that I'm really happy with. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. I think it's probably one of the most realistic looking pieces that I've ever managed to create, and I hope that Ted's really happy with it. You know, I think it'll be a nice piece for him to put in his collection, and it fills me with no small amount of pride that I had the chance to make it for him. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you saw, hit the like button, hit subscribe. If you like live plays, there's plenty of those on the channel, and with any luck, there might be some more crafting done on the channel as well. So until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.